Hey everyone, I'm Nidoking, and last time on Goblins 3 we ran into a bit of a conundrum. See, King Bod here has Winona held hostage, and he'll only release her if Blount solves the labyrinth in the name of his people. But we need to get Queen Xena to give us the cure for Winona's butterfly condition by solving the labyrinth in the name of her people, as Wolfie. Fortunately, Blount's already got a solution for this one.
I have now to solve the maze mystery under 2 different identities.
The news spread in both kingdoms. Xena and Bod were presenting 2 new, smarter champions to solve, once more, the mystery of the maze.
Knock, knock, knock. Knock, 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 knock. Badum badum, pakadum kadum namitum.
Ay, 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 ay!
Knock, 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 knock. Knock, knock, knock. Knock, 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 knock.
Viva Balou, Madame Alou.
And so that's settled. Now we just have to play this weird board game. Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
The game can't start without the 4 main pieces.
Well, fortunately, there's a set of rules here that'll tell us what pieces we need. Specifically, the capital words here: the lover, the killer, the bowman, and the knight. We're going to need to find or create those 4 pieces in order to play the game. And somehow, as Blount writes in his paper, winning this game is the key to getting through the maze. I have no idea how this is supposed to work, but hey, at least we've got musical accompaniment. And we're back to the hands. Remember that the left hand can manipulate objects in the room, the right hand can pick up and use stuff. But we've had our fun. Not a whole lot we can do in here, so we'll move on to the next room immediately. We'll be back once we've got those 4 pieces. Now we're in some kind of library, and there's a moonlight picture in the background which turns Blount into Wolfie for the duration of the time he's in this room. I don't really understand the picture. I mean, more than most of the pictures. But let's get on with our task by looking at this big prominent book in the middle of the room.
It's a story of a bowman who lives in Sherwood Forest.
Oh yeah, I know that guy. Let's have a chat with him.
He doesn't dare get out because he has no arrows left to fight with.
Ah, well, fortunately there's a book full of arrows over here. Yeah, he doesn't seem to have noticed anything happening, but I know those arrows moved a little bit. There, they moved a bit more. I'll just keep doing this. And there we go. We have arrows, which we can give to the bowman. And that's going to be our first piece.
He wants to follow me because he dreams of new adventures.
Yeah, obviously the rest of the puzzles are going to be considerably more complicated. But let's turn to the next page and see what we find.
It's a story of a knight who fought a dragon that lost its memory.
Now, we've met this guy before.
I can't hear anything he says. I must help him get closer.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with that knight being tiny every time we see him. But we just need to make the road a bit longer. So we pick up a brush and draw some road on the page. Oh, right, we need to dip it in the ink first.
Being an artist, how can I express myself if I have no ink?
We have no ink?
It's empty.
Alright, so I gotta find some ink and put it in the ink bottle.
The ink on these numbers is barely dry. I'll try to recover it.
So that's the idea. We need to get the ink from the sheet of calculations. Also, random spider attack.
Please, excuse the hero's disappearance. It was necessary for survival.
So that's kind of the gimmick here. If we try to walk past those books, the spider will appear and scare us off. The good news is, Fulbert's not scared of spiders, and we should be able to distract it by poking at its web. And I was a little too slow.
Please, excuse the hero's disappearance. It was necessary for survival.
Alright, so the good news is that we don't actually need to get Wolfie up there, because Fulbert can interact with a pile of dust. And we just need to pull our pants up and put the pieces together. We just need to make the wolf sneeze. And for whatever reason, while the spider is distracted holding that number 9 up in the corner, he's not going to attack us. And we can now pick up all of the numbers that have been scattered all over the room. And as you can probably imagine, then we'll just need to pop them into the ink bottle to fill it up. So let's go ahead and get started on that. We'll put the 0 in first.
He says that this 0 represents the part of nothingness within us all. Everything has to be redone. What a headache.
Yeah, I'm sure that all this stuff is supposed to represent something about the mind. That's about the biggest clue you get, I think, that that's what's going on here. And it honestly doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But the fact is, if we put the 0 in the ink bottle, then all the numbers, including any that we've collected, and any that we've put into the ink bottle already, all return to the page, and we have to pick them all up again. Fortunately, that doesn't really set you all that far back, but when I first wanted to LP this game, my copy crashed every time that happened.
He says that at this moment, I am diving into my artistic self.
Yeah, it's a shame that's not really much of a hint as to what we need to do. But while I'm over here, we also need to check out this book. It doesn't particularly stand out, but it's vital.
They say how to figure the exact point where the chisel hits the marble.
And that's it, we've learned how to sculpt marble. Meanwhile, I've just got to go pick up the 6 hanging next to the shrink and the 9 that the spider's holding, and then I'll have all the numbers that flew off the paper. Alright, so before we tackle the spider, we definitely want to go pick up that little statue horse that's sitting next to it on the shelf. And now that we've got that, dealing with the spider is going to be a little tricky. Yeah, of course, Wolfie's not going to grab the number from the spider. However, we can play a little joke on that spider. We're only a wolf because the moon is shining.
Am I scaring spiders now? I don't understand.
That's right, we use the transformation to give the spider a taste of its own medicine, in terms of fear. And we've got the 9. So, we've got all the numbers from 1 through 7, and we've got 9. Something seems to be missing. But oh well. Let's just put everything we've got into the ink bottle and very carefully not put the 0 in. And this is probably why the 9 shows up in a completely different part of the inventory from the other numbers. So how are we doing on ink?
I need only one more number.
Yeah, that's right. Even with all those numbers in there, it's not quite enough. Now the number that we were missing was 8. And it's really easy to make an 8. Just a couple of circles. And the good news is we don't even need to sneeze on this one.
It's full.
And finally, we can dip the tip of our brush in the ink bottle. Now let's see what the knight has to say.
Let's see if I can do something for him. He wants to accomplish other famous deeds, but he lost his horse in battle.
Yeah, anyone who's played chess probably knows where this was going already. We can't just draw him a horse, unfortunately. Granted, I've got a horse that would be perfect for him, but there's one thing I want to do first, involving this wagon.
This wagon has lost a wheel.
Well, I've got a round object in my inventory that ought to serve.
I need to draw. something to pull now.
Well, we've got a horse.
It's not a draft horse.
And that was a joke. Once you've given the horse to the knight, you can't get that. So, with the wagon pulled out, we can get to the cargo inside it, and hopefully pick up that coin. And in the back of the wagon are slabs of marble. And we know how to carve those. And we can also learn techniques for drawing from this book.
Now I know everything about the harmonious shapes of my body.
But we'll need another material to make something out of with drawing skill. So let's chop this wooden ruler into pieces. Yeah, possibly not intuitive, but back when I first played the game, this was the third screen that I managed to solve all the puzzles in without any outside help. Didn't use a joker. Third screen of 3. It baffles me how this was the one.
Let's see if I can do something for him.
And just like the traditional knight piece from chess, this knight now has a horse, which makes him our second piece. And there's nobody left at the castle, so we'll turn to the next page and maybe get another piece.
It's a story of a young lady who is waiting for a Prince Charming. Temper, temper.
And she's not going to find him like that. But maybe we can provide a Prince Charming. Well, that didn't work all that well. But maybe the guy just needs another chance. Okay, so he didn't get her, but we got the mandolin.
This will allow me to seduce my darling.
And that's all we needed from that page. Well, these look like familiar characters.
It's the story of a king whose son was traumatized after being kidnapped.
Yeah, it's the story of the second game.
This prince, who refused his throne to be a reporter, reminds me of someone.
Yeah, well, that's the endgame spoiler for you. And that's all the pages that there are. So, we've got 2 of the pieces, and believe it or not, we've got the material we need to create the other 2. So, technically speaking, we're done in the library. We've got the bowman, we got the knight. Let's see if we can make the lover and the killer out of the materials that we've got. So, we have a slab of marble over here. So, we just need a hammer and a chisel. Alright.
Not bad for a beginner, but it doesn't look like a killer.
Yeah, we need to use our artistic techniques to figure out where the chisel hits the marble. So we have to go get another slab. Now, before we actually do anything, we need to make our guidelines.
I have figured out where exactly to hit.
So there we go. Now we can create the piece we need. Although, I need to get my hands in order. There we are. That looks more like a killer. Actually, it looks like Wolfie. But the piece isn't finished. We've still got to make it look like Wolfie on the outside. And it's still not done. Let's take a look at it. It's missing some of the fine detail work. So we're going to have to pick up that brush that we got back in the library and use that to fill in the rest. There we go. Now it's the killer. And with the wooden block over on the other side, we just need to do the same thing. First, draw our guidelines with the chalk. Then we'll go grab the hammer. And get ready nearby. Because we're not going to have a lot of time while the left hand is holding the wood chisel. But we've got our lover piece, and we just need to paint it, and then ink the details. Alright, all 4 pieces are in place. Let's get the game started. Now, of course, we'll need to refresh our memory of the rules. So the lover and the killer can move in any direction, the bowman only moves diagonally on the green squares, and the knight moves like a chess knight but can't land on a snake square. We have to get the killer to kill the king diagonally and get the lover into the tower, and that will complete the game. So let's get started here. We can't mess with the opposing pieces. Chaperone, hangman, the king is back there in the corner. Believe it or not, the Grim Reaper and the dragon are not actually pieces, they're just props. Well, the chaperone's not happy to see Blount. Let's see how the bowman does as we move him around the board. Alright. Every time we put him on a square, he'll fire an arrow. Sometimes they'll just fly off into nothing, and sometimes they'll actually do something productive. There we go, we killed one of the tower guards. So as long as the chaperone doesn't stop us, the lover's path to the tower is clear.
The princess is definitely in the tower. How can I get her out?
Yeah, we can't get into the tower, presumably because it's locked. The key is hanging up there on the side. And the hangman won't let the knight land in front of him. So we'll just put him out of the way over there and finish the bowman's route. That takes care of the other guard. And there's something on the square where he was standing. But the lover won't do anything with it. Yeah, the hangman really objects to having any pieces next to him.
The princess is definitely in the tower. How can I get her out?
Well, first things first, we'll have to get the lover out of the back corner there. And let's get the killer into position. Yeah, he can't do anything with the tower, but he can pull the lever. And that's the end of the hangman. So now our pieces can move pretty freely around the board. And we just need to pick up that axe and kill the king. Ah, alas, the king can move. We'll need to pin him down. Well, that's the key to the tower taken care of. And when we place the bowman over here, he shoots into that square, so the king can't move there. Now we should be able to get the killer to move out of that square, and then back in so that he'll attack the king again. Now, the bowman can't cover both squares at once, so we'll have to get another piece to stand in that square instead. Yeah, there's even an invisible enemy, so the lover can't stand on that square. Well, that's okay, the knight is a fighter, he should be able to deal with it. And now he's standing in front of the lover, which is kind of weird. But whatever. We'll just finish dealing with this. Now the king's got nowhere to go. And now we just need to get the lover into the tower. So, where's the hand going? We need to move... Huh. Yeah, for some reason if you take care of the killer first, the game breaks in this really horrible fashion. So, we need to start again. And the real solution to this game is not to even touch the board at all. We'll just take a juggling lesson. But you might notice I've got my arms crossed here. You can't juggle with your arms crossed. And there's a familiar face. Play some music for him. Once again with our hands reversed so that it sounds absolutely awful. And having done that, we've got a rat, which we can place on the board to scare away the chaperone. I have no idea how you're supposed to figure that out. And now we can freely move our pieces around the board, deal with all the puzzles. And the first time I played through the game, I didn't even use the bowman as far as I can remember. I used the knight to defeat both of the pieces next to the king, and then just had the lover go and occupy the other space. Alright, well, that doesn't actually seem to work. I know I did it this way. But I was playing on a different version. Yeah, for whatever reason, I can't get the lover to stand next to the king in this version. So we'll just get him into the tower. We'll put him on the square with a picture of a mandolin, and give him a tiny mandolin to play.
She finally notices me. She invites me to enter the tower.
And now that I've been invited, in I go. Always make sure you rescue princesses consensually. And with that done, now the killer can get back to his job. Yeah, I don't know why the game is so ludicrously broken, but as long as you take care of the lover first, you'll be able to move on. Now that was just a little weird. Yeah, now we have to deal with upside down Blount in a world of mirrors. I'm definitely gonna leave that for next time. See you then.